Okay, hello everyone. So we continue with our chapter number 7. Okay, uh, the nature of industry. Yeah, the nature of industry. Okay, managers of firm do not make a decision in a vacuum. So numerous factors affect decisions such as how much output to produce, what price to charge, and how much to spend on research and development, advertising, and so on. Unfortunately, no single theory or methodology provides manager with answer to these questions. So the optimal pricing strategy for an automobile manufacturer generally will differ from that of a computer firm. The level of research and development will differ for food manufacturers and defense contractors. So in this chapter, we highlight important differences that exist among industries. In subsequent or next chapter, we will see why these differences arise and examine how they affect managerial decision. So much of material in this chapter is factual and is intended to acquaint you with aspects of the real world that are relevant for managers. So you will expose to statistics for numerous industries. Some of these statistics summarize how many firms exist in various industries. Other indicate which firms and industry are the largest and which industries tend to charge the highest markups. Okay. And the number presented in this chapter will change over time. Okay. And the larger firm today is unlikely to be the largest in the 40 years. Consequently, the most important thing for you to grab in this chapter is that industry differs substantially in nature. Not all industry are created equal. Our task in the remaining chapter is to determine what it is about firms and industries that give rise to systematic difference in price cost margin, advertising, expenditure, and other managerial decision variables. So this will particularly valuable to you as a manager, since you do not know in which industry you will work during the next 40 years of your career. So an effective manager is able to adapt to the nature of industry in which his or her firm competes. So as the nature of the industry changes, so will the manager's optimal decisions. Okay. So that's why in this chapter we will see, okay, the market structure, how that we do the analysis for market structure, and then conduct in terms of pricing, behavior, integration, and merger activity. And we will look at performance in terms of TESB Willig Index and structure, conduct, performance paradigms. Okay, and preview of a coming attraction. In order to do industry analysis, okay, we will see in terms of market structure, in terms of conducts, in terms of performance. So market structure refer to the factors such as the number of firms that compete in a market, the relative size of the firm, I mean concentration, technological and cost condition, demand condition, and the way or is easy or not which firm can enter or exit the industry. Different industry have different structures, and these structures affect the decision of prudent manager will make. So we will see in term of first of this market structure in term of firm size, in term of firm size or number or and firm size of the firms. It will provide no surprise to you that some firms are larger than others. Uh, Notice that there are considerable differences in size of largest firm in each industry. In 2015, in instance, Walmart was the largest general merchandiser with a sale of approximately almost 500 billion. In contrast, International Paper was the largest producer of packaging and container, but it had sale of only 26 billion. Industry are also dynamic. Over time, changes in competitor strategies or changes in market condition can change a firm's relative position within an industry, or potentially change the viability of industry itself. For instance, Verizon Communication had the largest sales of any telecommunication firm in 2006, but by 2012, AT&T was the industry leader and continued with the sale with to lead with sale of over 100 billion in 2015. And also in 2008, you can see Google was the leader in internet service in retailing, but it had been overtaken by Amazon.com by 2012. So what drives these differences in sales across countries, and why do firm relative position tend to change over time? Are they driven by differences or changes in market structure? Did firm become large by combining activities through merger? To what extent do they stem from differences or changes in research and development or advertising expenditure? Okay, so we will look in depth of this issue, okay, this question in this chapter. Okay. So another factor that affect a managerial decision is the size distribution of firms within an industry. That is, there are many small firms within an industry, or only a few large firm. That's the question. This is the question that's very important, as we will see in the later chapter. The optimal decisions of manager who faces little competition from other firm in the industry will differ from those of a manager who work in industry which are there so many firms. So some industry are dominated by few large firms, while other are composed of many small firms. So before presenting concentration data for various industry, we examine two that economists use to gauge the degree of concentration in industry. What is that? That is a measure of industry concentration and the concentration of industry. Okay, all of this, the industry concentration, we will discuss on how that's to measure it. Okay, later. Okay. And then the third okay, the third thing that we look on market, okay, in term of technology, industry also differ from the with regard to the technologies used to produce goods and services. So some other industry are very labor intensive, requiring much labor to produce goods and services. Other industry are very capital intensive, requiring large investment in plant, equipment, and machine to develop or be able to produce goods or services. So these differences in technology give rise to differences in production technique across industry. For example, in petroleum refining industry, firm utilize approximately one employee only for each 5 million in sales. In contrast, the beverage industry utilize roughly 15 workers for each 5 million in sales. Okay, so technology is also important within a given industry. In some industry, firms have access to identical technologies and therefore have similar cost structure. Okay. Industry also differ with regard to the underlying demand and market condition. So in industry, you can see differences in term of demand condition. Term of demand condition. So in industry with relatively low demand, the market may be able to sustain only a few firms. So in industry where demand is great, the market may require many firms to produce the quantity demanded. So one of our tasks in the remaining chapter is to explain how the degree of market demand affect the decision of managers. So the information accessible to consumer also tend to vary across markets. It is very easy for a customer to find the lowest airfare on a flight from one place to another place. So all one has to do is to call a travel agent or surf the internet to obtain the price quotes. In contrast, it is much more difficult for customer to obtain information about the best deal on used car. So the consumer not only has a bargain to potential sellers over the price, but also must attempt to ascertain the quality of the used car. So as we will learn in subsequent chapter, the optimal decision of managers will vary depending on the amount of information available in the market. Okay. So in finally, the elasticity of demand for product tend to vary from industry to industry. Moreover, the elasticity of demand for an individual's firm's product generally will differ from the market elasticity of demand for the product. So in some industry, there is a large discrepancy between an individual firm's elasticity of demand and the market elasticity. The reason for this can be easily explained. In chapter 3, we learn, right, that the demand for a specific product depends on the number of close substitute available for the product. Okay. So one's measure of the elasticity of the industry demand for product relatively to that of an individual firm is the Rothschild index. Okay, so we will see in this. Okay, okay, this concept letter. Okay. Okay, how to measure the demand and market condition using the Rothschild index here. Okay, and then okay, this is another factor that we use to analyze industry, the potential for entry. Okay, the potential easy of entry and exit. In terms of market structure, we can see one of the factor that contribute to the market structure is easy of entry and exit. So the final structure variable we discussed in the chapter is the potential for entry into an industry. So in some industry, it is relatively easy for new firm to enter the market. In others, it is very difficult. So the optimal decision by firm in an industry will depend on the easy with which new firm can enter the market. So numerous factors can create a barrier to entry, making it difficult for other firm to enter an industry. One potential barrier to enter in the explicit cost of entering an industry, such as capital requirement. So another is patent, which give owner of patent that exclusive right to sell their product for a specified period of time. Another factor, economies of scale also can create a barrier to entry. So in some markets, only one or two firms exist because of economies of scale. So this concept we discussed earlier in a previous chapter, the economies of scale. So if additional firms attempted to enter, they would be unable to generate the volume necessary to enjoy the reduced average cost associated with economies of scale. So as we learn in subsequent chapter, barrier to entry have important implication for the long run profit a firm will earn in a market. Okay. So in addition to structure differences across industry, the conduct or behavior of a firm also tend to differ across industry. Some industry charge higher markup than other industry. Some industry are more susceptible to merger or takeover than others. In addition, the amount spent on advertising and R&D tends to be vary across industry. Okay. Firm in some industry charge higher markup than other industry. In other industry, okay. So in term of pricing behavior, for example, okay, in term of pricing behavior, okay, we can see in term of pricing behavior, we will use Lerner index here. Okay, Lerner index here. Yeah, this is a pricing behavior conduct. How that's industry behavior in term of pricing. So the Lerner index can be used here. Okay. As a given as the Lerner index is given by L equal to, okay, P minus MC, okay, divided by P, where P is a price and MC is a marginal cost. Thus, the Lerner index measure the difference between price and marginal cost as a fraction of the price of the product. Okay. Okay, we will go back here later. So we can see another okay, term of pricing, and then uh, term of merger activity, the behavior of industry or organization in term of their merger and integration activity, for example. So in integration and merger activity also differ across industries. Okay. So integration refer to uniting productive resources. The integration can occur through a merger in which two or more existing firms units or combine or merge into a single firm. Okay. Merger can result from an attempt by a firm to reduce transaction costs, reap the benefit of economies of scale and scope, so increase market power or gain better access to capital market. So some merger are friendly in that both firms desire to merge into a single firm. Others are hostile, meaning that one of the firm does not desire the merger to take place. So in some instances, merger or takeover occur because it is perceived that the management of one of the firm is doing an adequate job of managing the firm. So in this instance, the benefit of the takeover is the increased profit that result from cleaning house, that is firing the incompetent managers. Many managers fear merger and acquisitions because they are uncertain about the impact of the merger of their on their position. Okay, industry also different in terms of their R&D, research and development. So earlier we noted that firm and industry differ with respect to underlying technologies used to produce goods and services. So one way firm gain a technology advantage is by engaging in R&D and then obtaining a patent for the technology developed through the R&D. Okay. So the message for manager is clear. The optimal amount to spend on R&D will depend on the characteristic of the industry in which the firms operate. So one goal in the remaining chapter is to examine the major determinant of R&D spending. Okay. And then we can see differences in industry in terms of advertising. In terms of advertising. So there is also considerable variation across firm in the level of advertising utilized. So firm in the food industry such as Kellogg spend about 9% of their sales revenue on advertising. In contrast, firms in rubber and plastic part industry such as Goodyear spend about 2% of their sales revenue on advertising. Another goal of the remaining chapter is to examine why advertising intensities vary across firm in different industry. Okay. So industry also differ in terms of performance. Okay, performance refer to the profit and social welfare that result in a given industry. So it is important for future managers to recognize that profit and social welfare vary considerably across industry. Okay, in terms of profit, like for example, Ford sales were among the highest in the group, in the highest profit, one of the highest profit in US. So yet its profit as a percentage of sales were second lowest. Okay, one task is the next. So as a manager, we would be a mistake to believe that just because your firm is large, it will automatically earn profit. So this is an example for maybe for some of automobile industry can become bankrupt or collapse when their profit is not big enough. And then social welfare. Another gauge of industry performance is the amount of consumer and producer surplus generated in a market. So while this type of performance is difficult to measure, okay, two scholars about two economists introduced the R.E. Dansby and R.D. Willig have proposed a useful index. So we will see the Dansby-Willig performance index measure how much social welfare, or defined as a sum of consumer and producer surplus, would improve if a firm in industry expanded output in a socially efficient manner. Okay. So this is the figure we can see the approaches to study in the industry, as we discussed from the market structure, conduct, and performance just now. Okay, from the previous slides, and so we relate the five forces to social, okay, conducts, and structure, conduct, and performance paradigm. So this is the way, the method for us, okay, to measure the industry concentration, the industry concentration. Okay. So as you can see from here, for firm concentration ratio, okay, and Herfindahl's Hedgeman index. So the sum of the market share of the top four firm in the defined industry, letting SI denotes sale for firm I, and ST denotes total industry sale. Okay. And then HHI, or Herfindahl Hirschman index. Okay. So the sum of the square market share of firms is a given industry multiplied by 10,000. Okay. HHI equal to 10,000 times, okay, sigma WI2, where WI equal to S I divided by S divided ST. Okay. Okay, maybe we can find one example for us to see, okay, the application of HHI. So for example, okay, the industry elasticity of demand for airline travel is -3, and elasticity of demand for an individual carrier is -4. So what is Rothschild index for this industry? So by applying our formula here, okay, R equal to -3 divided by -4, so equal to 0.75. So the Rothschild index takes on a value between 0 and 1. So when the index is 1, the individual firm faces a demand curve that has the same sensitivity to price as the market demand curve. So in contrast, when the elasticity of demand for an individual firm's product is much greater in absolute value, then the elasticity of the market demand, the Rothschild index is close to zero. So in this instance, okay, an individual firm's quantity demand is more sensitive to price increase that is the industry as a whole. Okay, and this is the limitation of concentration measure. Okay. Okay, limitation of concentration measure in terms of market definition, national, regional, or local. So we can define in terms of market domination in national level, regional level, or local level. Okay, and then in terms of global market, okay, uh, foreign producer excluded. That means we not calculate our foreign in same industry in foreign producer. And then in term of industry definition and product classes. Okay, this is the technology as we discussed earlier. Okay, industry differ regarding the technology used to produce goods and services. So some industry are labor intensive, and then this is how that we measure demand, measuring demand and market condition. Okay, using the Rothschild index, measure the elasticity of industry demand for a product relative to that of an individual firm. So R equal to ET divided by EF, where you can see ET equal to elasticity of demand for the total market, and then EF is elasticity of demand for product of an individual firms. Okay, this is price elasticity of demand, and also Rothschild index. Okay. For example, is here foods. Okay, more elastic. Okay, tobacco. Okay, more unelastic. And then textile. You can see. Okay, so the principle here, when industry is composed of many firms each producing similar product, the Rothschild index will be close to zero. Okay, if in the market there are a lot of maybe factor. Okay, this is a market entry and exit condition. You can see a barrier to entry in terms of capital requirement, patent and copyright, economies of scale, economies of scope, and this is a pricing behavior. Uh, we use a Lerner and index, Lerner index to calculate. So Lerner index is related to markup charged by a firm. In particular, we can rearrange the formula for the Lerner index for the Lerner index to obtain, okay, P. Okay, L equal to P, okay, minus MC divided by P, where P is price, okay, MC is marginal cost. So thus the Lerner index measure the difference between price and marginal cost as fraction of the price of product. Okay. Okay, to demonstrate or example. Okay, this is how that's from the Lerner index. The firm can determine the factor by which it should over the marginal cost. So rearranging the Lerner index be like P equal to, okay, 1 divided by 1 minus L, okay, times MC, marginal cost. So the markup factor is 1 divided by 1 minus L. So when the Lerner index is 0, the markup factor is 1 and P, okay, equal to marginal cost. So when Lerner index is 0.2, L equal to 0.2, the markup factor is 1.25, and the firm charge a price that is 1.25 times marginal cost. So this is an example for Lerner index calculation. A firm in the airline industry has a marginal cost of $200 and charges of a price of $300. What are the Lerner index markup factor? Okay, so Lerner index is L equal to P minus MC divided by P. That means 300, okay, minus 200 divided by 300 equal to 1 once uh, by 3, and then the markup factor is 1.5. Okay, so this is another factor for us to see the market structure, uh, market conducts and performance, okay, term of integration and merger activities. Okay, this is okay, according to US Department of Justice and Federal Trade Commission, FTC and DOJ. FTC and DOJ horizontal merger guidelines. So based on HHI equal to 10,000 sigma WI2, where WI equal to SI divided by ST. So merger may be challenged if HHI exceed 1,800, or will be after merger and merger increased by HHI by more than 100. Okay, but recognizes efficiencies. The primary benefit of merger to the economy is their efficiency potential, which can result in lower prices to consumers. In the majority of cases, the guidelines will allow firms to achieve efficiencies through merger without interference. So performance refer to the profit and social welfare that result in a given industry. Okay, social welfare equal to CS plus PS. So that's B a Willig performance index measure by how much social welfare will improve if firm in industry expanded output in a social efficient manner. So from this table you can see, okay, that's the chemical industry. Chemical industry, okay, 0.67, 0.67 has the highest DW index. Has the highest Dansby Willis performance index. So this suggests that a slight change in output in the chemical industry will increase social welfare more than would a slight change in the output of any of other industry. So the textile industry has the lowest DW index, which reveal the best performance. Okay. So now you have a broad overview of structure, conduct, and performance of industry. So the structure of industry, you refer to factors such as technology, concentration, and market condition. Conduct refer to how individual firms behave in the market. It's involve pricing decision, advertising decision, and decision to invest in research and development, among other factors. And then performance refer to resulting profit and social welfare that arise in the market. Okay, the structure, conduct, performance paradigm views these three aspects of industry as being integrally related. Okay. So in market characterized by perfect competitions, there are many firms actually. Okay. This discussion of optimum legislation under various market structure, including perfect competition. So in perfect competition, uh, there are many firms, each of which is small relative to the entire market. And then the firm have access to the same technologies and produce a similar product. So no firm has any real advantage over other firm in the industry. So firm in perfectly competitive market do not have market power. That is, no individual firm has a perceptible impact on the market price, quantity, or quality of the product produced in the market. So in perfectly competitive markets, both concentration ratio and Rothschild index tend to be close to zero. Okay. And then a monopoly is a firm that is the sole producer of a good or service in the relevant market. For instance, most local utility companies are the sole provider of electricity and natural gas in a given city. So some towns have a single gasoline station or movie theater that serve the entire local market. All of these constitute local monopolies. Okay. And then you can see the monopolistic competition. Okay, so in a market characterized by monopolistic competition, so there are many firms and consumers, just as in perfect competition. Okay, thus concentration measures are close to zero. Unlike in perfect competition, however, each firm produces a product that is slightly different from the product produced by other firms. So Rothschild index are greater than zero. Those who manage restaurant in a city containing numerous food establishment operate in monopolistically competitive industry. So a firm in monopolistically competitive market has some control over the price charged for the product. So by raising the price, some consumer will remain loyal to the firm due to the preference for the particular characteristic of its product. But some consumer will switch to other brands. For this reason, firm in monopolistically competitive industries often spend considerable sum on advertising in an attempt to convince consumer that their brands are better than other brands. So this reduce the number of customers who switch to other brand when a firm raises the price for its product. So an oligopolistic market, a few large firms tend to dominate the market. So firms is highly concentrated industry such as the airline, automobile, aerospace industry operate in oligopolistic market. Yeah. So when one firm in oligopolistic market change its price or marketing strategy, not only its own profit but the profit of other firm in the industry are affected. Okay. Consequently, when one firm in oligopoly change its product, other firm in industry have an incentive to react to the change by altering their own product. So in conclusion for this chapter, modern approach to study industry involve examining the interrelated between structure, okay, so as we discussed from the earlier, okay, structure, product and structure, conduct and performance, SCP. Okay, so industry dramatically vary with respect to concentration levels. So the four firm concentration ratio and Herfindahl's Hirschman index measure industry in concentration, and then Lerner index measure the degree to which firm can mark up price. So this is the conduct or the behavior of organizations in order for them to decide their price. Okay, it is a measure of a firm's market power. Okay, and industry performance is measured by industry profitability and social welfare. Okay, so in this chapter reveal that different industry have different market structure and require different type of managerial decision. Yeah. And the structure of an industry and therefore the job of the manager is dependent on the number of firms in the industry. So the structure of demand and cost, the availability of information and the behavior of other firms in the industry. Okay. And the four firm concentration ratio is one measure of market structure. If ratio equal 1, the industry is a monopoly or oligopoly. If it is 0, the industry is competitive. So another measure of market structure is Herfindahl-Hirschman index, HHI, which can range from 10,000 for a monopoly to 0 for a perfectly competitive industry. Of course, this index must be used in conjunction with other information, including whether the market is local and whether the firms compete with foreign firms. So other summary statistics include the Lerner index, the Rothschild index, Dansby Willig index. This index provide a manager information about industry cost and demand condition. Yeah. For example, the greater the Lerner index in industry, the greater the ability of firm in the industry to charge a high markup on its product. So the data presented in this chapter reveal industry-wide differences in activities such as advertising and research and R&D. So the remaining or the next chapter, okay, will explain why these differences exist and the optimal managerial decision for alternative market structure. So the next chapter will begin with a study of managerial decision under perfect competition, monopoly, and monopolistic competition. Alright. So not so complicated on this chapter. Okay. And until now, that's it for chapter number 7. All right. Have a nice day. Thank you.